ChuckWagon MTG is sponsored by BC Comics and Games. Hey everyone, welcome to another great Deck Tech Flash video here on ChuckWagon MTG. Today we go over Goonies, which is a revamped version of Dora and Friends, a deck that we featured here on the channel just a little bit ago. I'll go ahead and put a link up in the corner in case you want to check that one out too. Now, part of the draw for Dora and Friends was the fact that while it was cheap at just under $50, it was still somewhat competitive. Now, this deck is not quite as budget as before, coming in at just over $140, but it's also much more efficient and streamlined and can hold its own even at an F&M type level. This deck functions much in the same way as Dora did, with 3 copies of Path of Discovery being a cornerstone of the deck, and then 4 copies of Wild Growth Walker, another key part of the deck. We have 4 copies each of Ixali's Diviner and Jadelight Ranger, and then we also have 3 copies of Rishkar Pima Renegade, which is going to help us speed this deck up. We also have 3 copies of Tendershoot Dryad. Now, this deck gets to the City's Blessing pretty quickly, so the Saplings made from the Dryad will most likely be 3/3s when they come out. We also have 1 copy of Wayward Swordtooth to help us dump our lands that we're going to get from all the exploring. Now let's go over the newcomers to the deck. We have 2 copies of Deadeye Tracker and 2 copies of Lurking Chupacabra, which works great with the Path of Exploration. And then we have 3 copies of Seeker's Squire. We've also got 2 copies of Thunderherd Migration to help us get our lands out even quicker, and 2 copies of Savage Stomp for a bit of removal. And then for a bit more removal, we have 4 copies of Fatal Push. For our lands, we have 4 copies of Blooming Marsh, and then a single copy of Field of Ruin. For basics, we're running 10 forests and 8 swamps. Our sideboard consists of 3 copies of Heroic Intervention and 2 copies of Shaper's Sanctuary for decks with heavy removal. We got 3 copies of Prowling Serpapard for control decks, as well as 3 copies of Thrashing Brontodon to get rid of those pesky enchantments. Lastly, we have 3 copies of Life Goes On for those aggro decks. Well, that about wraps up our Deck Tech Flash of Goonies, a revamp of the Dora and Friends deck. While this version comes close to tripling the original price, $140 still isn't overly expensive in the standard world. And this deck has the advantage of far better removal, something the Dora and Friends was really lacking. And the Deadeye Tracker can be a game changer if you come to a stalemate. I want to thank you all for watching this Deck Tech Flash today. If you like what you saw here, I want you to click that like button, hit subscribe, be sure to hit that notifications button so you can tell every time we come out with a new video, and be sure to share this with your friends, your family, your loved ones, and your pets. Everyone could use a little more magic in their lives. Once again, thank you very much for watching, and as always, you can find us on Facebook and Twitter, ChuckWagon MTG. Now, if you could do me a huge favor and check out this brief message about our sponsor. ChuckWagon MTG is sponsored by BC Comics and Games, now at one mega location to fill all of your gaming and comic needs. They have Magic the Gathering events every night of the week, as well as Warhammer, Pathfinder, Dungeons & Dragons Adventures League, Final Fantasy TCG, Pokemon, and Star Wars X-Wing events all throughout the week. They also have close to 100,000 comics on site. This is why I have personally made BC Comics and Games my home gaming store.